Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. I'm out in the field today and I'm going to be sharing a story with you guys about this home. There's a tenant that's been living in there for quite some time, renting the place, but she has been living in terrible conditions with mold to the point where she was hospitalized for it. We have a big story about how the landlord is refusing to fix the situation and a possible lawsuit. So we're gonna share with you guys all the details about that. So let's get right into the video. All right, guys, so I have Ramiro with me here. Thanks again, Ramiro, for inviting me to share this story. You guys know I'm always trying to capture the best content for you guys. So when I heard about this story, I was all over it. It's a really intricate story, guys, and we're gonna go through it piece by piece with you, starting with the exterior of the house, and then also starting with Ramiro's involvement and his experience behind this subject. So as far as how many years of experience and your background that led up to like just basically being completely educated on this type of situation, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's been about 21 years I've been in the industry. And
What industry?
the housing, building, residential building, and actually commercial as well, but mainly residential. And so, you know, I've been educated throughout the years, obviously, of mold and I've experienced a lot of different types of mold situations with houses and seeing people get sick from it. Usually they wait until they get some sort of serious injury, and then they go to the doctor and take it seriously, and then move out. So I just want people to understand that mold is a bad situation to be in.
For sure.
You know?
And not to cut you off, but you guys, you're gonna get a full education list first and foremost on mold, but a lot more today. And honestly, guys, this is also a story of a potential business owner doing something that can basically ruin his business.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect storm. You have Ramiro, who is really educated in the background, and then his ex-associate or your ex-business partner, which is a tenant here, right?
Yeah.
So basically the owner here, he's been renting to like single parents, women that basically don't have a big voice, and he's been able to get away with these living situations for a really long time, you guys. And like I said, it was a perfect storm where Ramiro seen the situation, stuck up for his friend, and now the owner is facing some serious problems. So can you elaborate on that too?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, they signed a lease to move into this place, and not realizing that the mold situation was already here. And so throughout the time, over the course of the 2 years, they started getting sick. They just thought they were getting sick, After, so long, after me witnessing it and identifying it, individually in all the different, the different residents here, I noticed that there was neglect to a few things around the house, right? The water heater was leaking and the owner didn't want to take care of it. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to take care of it? They haven't had hot water here for, 3 days already. And, by law, if that happens, the owner has to accommodate their living, their housing that night in a hotel, whatever. He didn't want to do it. So I ended up working a deal with him where I would pay for the hotel for them to stay in. I would do the work, and then he would just buy the material. Well, he finally agreed to it, and then he hired me to do the job. So then, because it was leaking, I know that when water enters, a cavity anywhere in a house, and so there's moisture in there, mold's going to grow, because mold is in every house. It's just, you can't get away with it. It's just everywhere. And the levels are usually around 1,500, which are pretty much livable. It's when they go up above that where they're 21,000 is where this house was at, and that's extremely high. If you're in a house for 17 months with that kind of high levels of mold, you're gonna get sick. And so some of the symptoms are like asthma, where you can't breathe. You get heart palpitations. Your DNA changes. You get high blood pressure. You get nausea. You even bleed out your rectum.
It's deadly, deadly, dangerous stuff. Highly, highly toxic.
You get cysts. You get like cysts growing in different places.
And one thing I want to elaborate on that, you guys, is I read a little bit about mold before I came here and some of the laws. And the way mold works is it's black mold and it grows spores, but these spores, they're like little dusty little things, but they become airborne, and they're incredibly toxic.
Exactly, and so we found out later on, 17 months into her lease, is that they had this issue before because the previous tenant was complaining about it, and they noticed mold. They took even their animals to the vet, and the vet said, and the doctor said that it's the environment you're living in that's causing these conditions. Every time they leave, they get better. And then right when they get back home, they start getting worse again, instantly. They leave for a few hours, you get better, you start getting better. Well, you know, doing that every day over the course of 2 years, it's gonna get really bad, you know? So this doctor says that it's already in the house, you know? So they signed a lease not knowing any of this, the new tenant, the new residents, and he allows them to move in. And then, so on top of it, he tells the girls that live here, you pay for the flooring and everything, and you know, you can go ahead and move in. You know, and the carpet has mold all over it. So they say, okay, you know, they don't know better. They pay for all the flooring to replace. Then he has them paying for the contractor, or not contractor, handyman, to do the work and anything else that needs to be done. So and so all this stuff is happening.
So you guys see a trend here. You have a landlord who's taking advantage. He's not disclosing the problems, and he's starting to wheel and deal and kind of get more money out of his tenants. Fix that, fix this.
He charged her almost $20,000 to move in. And the rent here was $3,600. Then he raised her rent to $4,500, which technically in California, you can't raise a tenant's rent more than 5% every 12 months. So $1,000 on $3,600 is a lot more than 5%, and they don't know that. So they say, well, it's a nice area. They want to live. They want a place to feel safe. You know, not realizing what they're getting involved in. Well, if you notice, this house is the worst on the block.
And we're gonna show the house real quick, so we're gonna cut to the next segment, but we're gonna go more into the backstory. But just to give you a little tidbit of the seriousness of what's going on here, is the tenant has incurred some serious hospital bills. So there's a potential for a big lawsuit, and the owner can potentially like even lose the home unless he doesn't have the capital to pay out what's due. Because this is the thing with California and most mold laws, I'm sure every state. So this is how it goes. If there is mold found in the house, by law, the owner is mandated to remedy the situation. Now, if he does not remedy it in a timely manner, the tenant is basically encouraged to just simply sue the owner. That's it. It's like cause and effect. Basically, it's such a serious problem that it has to be dealt that way. So the owner basically, he kind of trial by fire. Get rid of owners that do this.
And I speak on right now. I'm speaking on her behalf because she's ill. She's too sick. She's fatigued. She's getting worse at being in here. But the owner cleared her to be back in here after the first, you know.
You said there is one tenant here that we may be able to speak to. But it's not the one that was really ill.
But there is one. She did get ill as well. She got something.
So she has some experiences about it to say. All right. So let's start looking at the house. He wants to point out a few things here. And like I said, guys, we will go into the backstory a little more. There's a lot going on here, but just off first glance, like he was saying, that this home is in the worst shape compared to all these other homes. And we are in beautiful Redondo Beach, you guys. So we're probably about 10 minutes from the beach here. And if you can see this structure, he's saying that it's bowing here. So it's supposed to be a straight structure, and at this line is bowing. Can you elaborate on that as well?
So structurally sound, the building here is not structurally sound anymore because of the water that's penetrating the flashing in between the balcony and the house. It's coming in, and it's inside the garage. It's leaking water all on the rafters. So then it runs down here on the side of where the posts are. And then you get dry rot and termite damage. Well, this right here is just the fascia, but if you look up close, I can rock the whole post. You see that? Okay,
Yes, I do.
That's the load-bearing post. That's what this house is sitting on right now on the front. So if that's not secure, if that's not sound, the integrity of the wood is bad, then that means it's just sitting on the studs, which studs aren't into the foundation. There's no footing. So basically, the house is just sitting there. In an earthquake or something, it could just completely collapse because there's no footing. So this being dry rotted and termite damaged, it doesn't allow this garage door track to be able to secure itself tightly to the post. So which in turn the garage will fall. So anytime you lift this garage up, it falls. So the children that live here, they lifted it up twice and it fell, as you can see. And when it fell on them, it cut one of their wrists open. It cut them. So all these requests were made to the owner several times a lot of times throughout the last 17 months, and he hasn't responded or done anything about it. I, as well as a general contractor, I recommended 6 months ago that he take care of these issues, because it's going to be a serious problem for him if he doesn't. If he takes care of his tenants, then he'll be fine. He'll be protected. If he doesn't, well, then he's going to end up having an issue for himself.
Romero, you mentioned that the floor of this balcony right here is bowing. It's from the waterfall, and the water is causing all kinds of water damage. Is it penetrating through the floor, going into the roof of the house? Is that causing the mold as well?
Yeah, exactly. So when it goes in through the flashing in between the balcony and the house, because it's not sealed, it's actually got roofing material.
What's the flashing?
It waterproofs it, basically the house. It keeps water from going inside when it rains. So that's what it does. So this was originally a roof, and then it looks like they put a rail around it and called it a balcony, because it's still roofing material up there. And it's got more than a 2% fall slope for water to run off. So what's happening is, because the flashing's bad and it's just penetrating the house, it falls on top of these rafters right here, and then when it hits the rafters, it goes back into what's underneath. Above the garage is the living room, so it goes into the subfloor there, and then it just sits in there, and then with water just sitting in the middle, it just falls right back into the living room. So the mold inspector that came, he said that it's extremely wet. It's not moist, but it's wet. So that right there, mold's gonna grow in there. Yeah.
And it has barely been raining.
Right.
And so, just so I'm clear, the mold, the rain, this is the problem area. Mm-hmm. Is this the main problem area,
No.
or there's multiple ones?
Multiple.
So, but this is one area where the rain is getting in through, because
Right.
it's not a proper balcony.
Mm-hmm.
There's no flashing.
Right.
It's been penetrated already.
Yeah.
There's
flashing, but it's bad, and he didn't.
Oh, so the flashing is bad.
Yeah, I requested to fix it, and he didn't. Because right here, if you look right over this hill, the beach is there. We're literally like 1 minute from it.
Okay.
So the moisture around here is
incredible
yeah.
here. It's
Yeah.
very intense.
And
The moisture here is like really corrosive. This is nonstop. You always have to be repairing and investing.
Updating and getting new windows for proper insulation. You need the venting, airflow through these places really well.
Did you say there was something going on this cement too?
Yeah, down here, if you notice, the cement is settling over here, and the runoff for the water should valley out over here on the left side of the house. But being that it's settling, the water goes inside the garage, underneath the seal. It goes inside, all the way over here, and this place right now has bad electrical problems. So when the water comes over here and puddles here inside the garage, it fills up. Well, the electrical panel is inside the garage, and it's exposed. It's not covered up properly. It's got 1/8-inch plywood covering up half of it, and then insulation covering up the other half. So it's pretty much exposed, which is against code. So if water falls down through the eaves, through the flashing, it makes its way in, and then falls on top of this electrical panel here, and then water's puddling here in the garage. There's the electrical panel, and water puddles here all throughout the garage floor. If water makes contact here and here when it rains, and electricity is flowing through it, whoever walks or touches this water is gonna pretty much, if not hurt themselves real bad, kill themselves, because it's 240 here. The outlets are 110. That'll just hold you to the water. And all the outlets inside the garage, if you flip the switch, they will shock you. So when the owner was here one day, a week ago.
It will shock you?
Yeah. And I asked him 6 months ago to repair it, and he still hasn't. I'm like, this panel has to be replaced. Everything has to be redone in here. And when he was here a week ago, he was standing inside the garage right next to the puddle of water that was coming in. And I asked him to flip the switch. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't turn his own switch, because he knows damn well that this thing will shock you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said this box here is outdated.
Yeah,
it needs to be replaced regardless.
Right. His insurance company.
Didn't you tell me that you guys called the fire department to have them confirm that this was hazardous?
The Coast City.
And they said
county.
yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this needs to be replaced.
Right. Because it's not enough amperage to provide for 2 units.
So you being in the housing and the development industry for so many years, do you have a name for a house like this? Like, what would you call places like this? What
Well,
did you?
typically this is not really for a house like this. It's mainly for commercial, but because
Well,
this
I'm
house
just saying,
is so
do you guys
bad,
have a term like
yeah.
this is like a living coffin, or like, did you guys ever
it's,
like?
it's sick. It's called sick building syndrome.
This is called a sick
Yeah,
building.
except it
Same.
usually only applies to retail and stuff, but occasionally you'll see a house like that. Usually houses aren't like this because landlords take care of them.
Yeah, because
know?
retail places don't have the same living. You don't really
Right.
have to sleep in it overnight.
Right.
So
yeah.
this is almost worse than like a dang garage
Yeah,
or something.
It is. It's they shouldn't even be living here, man. Like with this, the county would usually come and shut it down and make everybody move because this is a hazard.
And I heard you just say something right now about they shouldn't be living here.
No.
And that kind of touches home for me because I know a lot of people live in scary living conditions and it's very hazardous and stuff. And it's kind of I get emotional thinking
Yeah,
about it.
right.
And it's when
It's
you're in
fatigue.
these homes, you basically, we all need a place to live, but we're trapped in them essentially
Right.
because a lot of people can't afford to live in a beautiful modern home that was built without lead, that was
Right.
built with new material.
So they depend on the landlords
So
to,
they
to update these homes so that they can live in them. Like the women, there's two females that live here in the downstairs unit, upstairs unit with children, and they don't. It's not their job to know all this stuff, but they want to feel like they're at home. They want to feel like they're safe. They don't want to leave their homes. They don't want to have to go stay in a hotel and this guy doesn't do anything about it. Even the neighbor here, if the neighbor comes around the corner and makes contact with this water that's touching this house, it could kill him. The landlord doesn't seem to get it, I guess, because he's gonna have bigger problems, and that's why I try to tell him. I'm like, I'm here. I'm not biased. I'm here to stand for both you guys. And if she's our friend and mutual client, then we will do what benefits her, and that'll benefit you as a client, as a landlord, And he has neglected to do it within the last six months.
And that brings me to another point. I remember you saying that he may be trying to get her out soon.
Yeah.
But through this whole process, it sounds like you said you've been kind of neutral about it, and you've given him a lot of opportunities
Right.
to just, hey, let's work together.
Yeah.
And he's simply just kind of made it to the point where he's showed his true colors.
Yeah,
like he's
exactly.
not been a genuine person.
No, not at all. He's been lying. Everything that he's been doing here is just a lie. All the money he gets, he doesn't put back into this place. He doesn't fix it up when it should be fixed up. He should have never had the right to rent this place out in the very beginning when they first signed their lease. He voided his own contract when they signed their contracts. They're basically void. There's no contract there because he's not standing by what his duties are as a landlord.
Right. Like when you move into a place, there's a lease and it says this and this and that.
Valid. That's what we're looking for. Yeah.
So let's move on to. We're gonna keep going, but let's look at more of the structure here. He's gonna point out a couple more things, and we'll keep going into the story. But what's next as far as what you see on the exterior?
I want to over here on the exterior. I want to show you the. Over here where, because it's next to the beach, and moisture's here, and this is the very center of the street where this house is. Both sides of the street come down, and the valley is this is right in the middle. So all the water comes down through here. This might be a city, issue or a county issue, but then you go back here in the backyard.
Is that you say that's a county issue because the house is built in the middle of like a goalie type thing?
And it's the exterior. So back here, this is where, if you notice, you see all out here, it's basically moss, algae, like mold.
So this thing must get completely puddled when it's raining.
Yeah.
You think it's completely inhabitable, I'm sure. It's
Yeah,
like
and you
a
see-
pond.
Just right here from this morning, you see the moisture, all that water
It's
here?
still there.
Yeah, it's still there. And then you get mold and algae growing, and it just sits back here. And so with that being said,
Yeah, just sitting on this couch could probably be toxic,
yeah,
I'm sure.
right. It's outside, so
Here's
it's
a
exposed. Yeah, see? Just from the rain or any moisture that's coming out here. And they don't even need to put a hose back here because it's just constantly wet.
Anything that you note on the back that should be
On the back
fixed?
side of this wall and the other side, the walls stay pretty much more moist because it's facing the beach, But these walls on both sides are wet. They're not just moist. All these other houses are moist.
What do you mean by wet?
By
Inside
wet,
or
yeah,
outside?
Inside or wet.
You feel like you can feel you touch the drywall or the
Yeah,
wall and it's
no.
like it feels wet.
No, there's
like
actually
moisture.
Yeah, there's moisture detectors, and they detect whether the wall is moist, dry, or wet.
Is it physically wet? Like you
Yeah.
can feel the like driplets on it?
If I cut it open, you'll see that it's wet inside.
Jeez,
Yeah,
that's
and-
terrible.
right.
And how is that happening? Is that
So,
coming from the roof?
It's coming from down here because all the moisture.
So the
runs
moisture,
up.
it's seeping from up, from down to up.
Yeah, it's weeping up the wall. And
What
so,
would you do with this house if you were able to acquire this property? Would you just demolish the whole house?
No, I wouldn't demolish it because the structure could still be fixed. You know, it's still a lot of it. The integrity is still here. You know, on a lot of it, just a lot of whatever's dry rot and termite, I would remove and replace. I would redo the roof because whoever did the roof here that he hired recently, around the whole perimeter of the roof, it doesn't slope off. It's got a 2% fall, but then at the very edge where it's supposed to fall off, it dips. They didn't do it properly. So all the way around the perimeter, it just sits there. So where they didn't put the roofing on at all right in one area of the house, water just falls right in, and it seeps in, and then it sits right on top of the entryway in the house.
Wow.
So the roofing also needs to be redone.
So,
you know?
as far as the sloping on the roofing, it's a bad geometry or something?
Yeah, well, it's just settling. They didn't replace it. After it gets wet and it starts to get, dry, after a while, when it gets moist, it wood just gets soft, and eventually.
It's basically not completely waterproof up there.
Right. It needs to be completely redone. It's not waterproof at all. Yeah.
So, with your professional opinion, with that said, needing a new roof, needing new electrical, needing mold removal, and then all the other things we're about to learn when we go inside, how much do you think it'd be worth how much do you think it would cost to get this building up to code and like quality living conditions?
Seeing that there's 2 units here, and I don't think it's recorded with the county.
So that's another situation.
Yeah.
He did a unit split,
Right.
and he didn't get permits, so
Right.
that's illegal too.
Right.
So with everything in that combined, what would be your professional opinion?
Well, as far as fixing it, or I would first go and record it with the city. Well, you would have to do the work and get
It's
permits.
just overwhelming.
Yeah,
almost.
it is. It's a lot.
But you told me you did say a number, like it was 600,000.
Yeah, it's probably to remodel this place. I mean, update it to its current, like to bring it to code. Yeah, it's probably somewhere around, I'd say close to $500,000. Yeah,
just to get to code, and that's
Yeah.
without any fancy stuff, like maybe redoing some of this,
Yeah.
landscaping and maybe
Yeah.
putting some new cement
Well,
because it's cracked everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because all the windows, if you notice, what we have now is called Title 24, and that's to update make the houses all compatible, like equivalent to their insulation, so that they have good insulation to prevent heat or cold from going in or out. And so these windows need to be replaced first of all with
Those are old school windows.
Yeah, with
that's
double
my
pane.
pet peeve with a home is living with those windows.
They should be double pane. All the stucco is fine over here, but you see the bottom down here, it needs to be done properly where it runs right into the ground. It should have it should be a step with a
step to protect it.
Right. It's called weeping. That's what causes the water to weep up the wall.
So you need a guard there.
Right.
So just to give you guys an idea, these are single pane. They're just like basic aluminum frames. And then these white ones are built with a different material that's all around just safer and better.
Right. They're made out of plastic basically. It's like a polyurethane, whereas these are metal.
And these ones, like if you guys have windows like this in the morning on a very like moisture type morning, you'll see like a puddle of water on the inside.
Right.
And you'll start seeing mold along your window seal.
Exactly.
These ones,
they don't do that.
They don't do that.
If you notice on the corner of the windows, they have what's called a weeping hole. And
so it's draining.
It has a vent and a drain, right?
That's high quality.
Yeah, whereas these ones don't.
And if you guys don't know, in order to just replace like 10 windows could be like thousands.
25,000 about.
It could be very expensive.
Yeah, I would say about that.
So guys, we're gonna go inside because there is a tenant that's kind of hanging out waiting for us to come by, ask her a couple questions. So let's go inside, move to the next segment, and continue the story in there.
This is one of the walls that's wet here as well.
All right guys, so like we were saying earlier, this is a unit split. So it's one house that's been split into 2 units, and we made it inside one of the units. So now we're gonna start going piece by piece, looking at some of the structural damage and some of the things that need to be repaired. So we just made it through this door, which is right around down the steps from the electrical box. And then the first thing that he wants to note is, you said something about the water heater?
Yeah, there
Like,
was a water heater leak.
from the top stair.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's split in half. So
Right.
one lower, one upper.
No, there's only one water heater provided. Yeah, one.
But-
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Okay.
a lower
so
unit
the
and
upper. Oh, but there's only one water heater that they share.
Right, and it's-
but it's upstairs.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it upstairs? Or like?
I think
it's just the.
because the garage is level with the garage, you know, and
okay, I see.
yeah, it has the ability to be able to be gravity fed. It just helps with the pressure and stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and
So,
so-
that is leaking. It needs to be replaced.
Well, it did leak about 6 months ago, and that's when I was telling you out there that it didn't. He didn't want to replace it, so I told him I would do the work, and he paid for the water heater, and that was it. He still owes material, and for actually upstairs neighbor paid for it, and he still owes her for that. So
wow.
it took him 3 days finally to be able to do it. They were here without no hot water, and he didn't accommodate their housing.
And
So-
what happened up during that
So-
time? It was leaking.
Yeah, it was leaking and it was falling into a box, a little cavity up there, which the mold guy never took out or anything. So I know that mold's growing in there. And then how long ago, Kim, do you think it was that there was a leak from the washing machine? Or
Oh, maybe like 2 months ago.
2 months ago? Yeah. Oh, so it was
So
recently.
we had multiple
Yeah.
leaks. We got leaks in the roof, leaks in the water
Everywhere.
washing machine, leaks in the
In my
hot water
bathroom.
thing,
In her bathroom.
and your
Yeah,
bathroom.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so a lot of it is caused from the roofing because it's not done right. So all the plumbing vents that are coming out the house, they have cracks. They're not sealed properly. You're supposed to put a type of mesh around them if you're going to use that kind of material. If it's more expensive to put down a guard over the top, the metal guard, which is better, and it protects it better. But what they did is just put the actual flashing, a liquid flashing, without the mesh. So what happens over time, it cracks. And when it cracks, the water just goes right through slowly, but it's enough to where it penetrates it, goes in, it'll drip down the vents all the way down the walls. And then if water's in there, it's causing mold. So I know
For what kind of material is the plumbing vents made out of?
they're
It's like a clay, right?
Yeah, no, these ones are ABS. The newer back in the days, yeah, it was clay. But
now,
here,
what's ABS?
ABS is a black pipe. It's
Okay.
similar to like a polyurethane, but it's black. Yeah.
And the mesh screen enforces it
Right,
by
and-
not cracking.
Exactly, yeah. It's a fiberglass tape that you wrap around them, and then you put this liquid flashing, which is basically a rubber. And without that material in there, it doesn't allow it to be secure. It has no integrity, basically. And it cracks, and then that's when the water goes through. Well, it's like that on every single vent.
Where is the water seeping through the cracks into the wood and the walls and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. On the side of each ABS pipe that comes out of the house, they're vents. So when you flush your toilet or you run your sinks, it allows the water to flow to the sewer outside on the street properly. Because if you didn't have it vented, the water would just sit there in the pipes. You couldn't push it. You wouldn't be able to push it out.
That's interesting.
It's like a straw. When you take a straw and put it in a cup, pull it out of the cup, release it, that's the vent. You
Right.
see? So that's what's happening here. So on
That's
the side,
why you see sometimes when there's a plug up in someone's toilet, the plumber or somebody will get on the roof and
Right.
run the what's that thing called?
a hydrogel or a snake.
The snake. They'll
Yeah.
run the snake through the vents, correct?
Right.
So the vents are connected to the toilets. Or
Exactly. Yeah, and all the sinks, any plumbing that you have, any water lines that are coming in are all vented. The drainage. So, and that's where the water's coming in on every single one of them. And the bathrooms are over here, so that's where all the vents are located. And so
check
that's
out the bathroom real quick?
Yeah, you want to check it out? Yeah. This is where she already had the inspectors came about a few weeks ago and did a test in here, and the levels that she has actually the results of were 21,000.
Oh, I smell the
You
mold
smell-
now.
you
Yes,
do?
I smelled
Yeah.
it.
So
Gee,
that's-
what kind of walls are these? Are these
these ones are drywall, but
because back in the day they used to do cement walls, right?
yeah, plaster.
But these
Yeah.
aren't plaster. These
No,
are drywall.
Yeah, these ones are. I mean, actually, it might be a combination of both. Whenever they did the repair work, it could be a combination.
Because technically this house was built in the days they did the plaster.
Right.
But then throughout the years they replaced the plaster.
Yeah.
Because I see they replaced the popcorn ceiling, right? That must
Yeah.
have been an update.
Yeah, they
But
took that out.
What were you gonna say in here?
So this was all cut out already because of the mold. So they did this 2 weeks ago. They cut it out.
This is all new.
Yeah, it's new. So they removed this area, but then pretty much put it back together and then allowed them to move back in within 2 days, whereas the rest of the house hasn't been done.
Right, and then this is the area where you're saying that the plumbing line from the toilet has been compromised.
Exactly.
And where's that at? In this wall?
Yeah.
But that hasn't been fixed.
No.
Even though they fixed the mold, but that they don't fix the root of the problem.
Exactly. The construction part of it, they didn't fix. They only did what's.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
How
at
come
all.
nothing makes sense?
He's just trying to be cheap and not pay for it. The only reason why I think he's doing it now is because they're aware of it, and he knows he'll get in trouble if he doesn't do something. So that's why after this many years, he's finally doing something.
And honestly, I've never seen this before. This is cement in here.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a floor, like a laminate floor or something. Is this custom?
Yeah.
Like, did they put a layer here to
Yeah.
make it a floor?
Yeah, this is epoxy. They put
Oh,
this
it's
on,
epoxy?
and it works as a
Okay,
moisture
okay.
barrier. Yeah. So
I get it.
This would be fine down here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then in here as well, you can see up here the water leaks. I mean,
Okay.
you see the damage right here, the discoloration on this side, and then this is the whole wall that I was saying is wet on the outside or on the inside as well.
The
Yeah,
levels in here were 21,000.
21.
You
Yeah.
feel that?
1,500 is considered too high.
Yeah.
21,000 as opposed to 1,500. That's
1,500 is already considered high.
Right.
oh, that's
too
already high.
Yeah,
So-
so we're at like
21,000 is extremely high.
Extremely
Like
high.
it's not.
And what does 21,000 mean in terms of mold? Like, what's that number?
It's basically a level they.
Is
they
that
count
parts per clean
Right.
air or something?
Exactly.
21,000
Yeah.
parts per something else?
I know it's confusing, but and then what they do is opposed to the outside. However much is on the outside of the house is on the inside. So the levels have to be 21,000 on the inside means that it's basically it's biohazard.
That has to do with particles in the air?
Yeah, it's
So
a particles.
21,000 particles type stuff
To,
per
like-
square foot or
Right.
per square inch. or
And
something.
without proper ventilation, you won't remove anything. It'll just basically be in a box. So this house right here, it doesn't have any heater or air conditioner. There's no vents. It's basically a box.
And I remember you saying that earlier, and I told you, hey, why don't they just go down to Target, get one of those Black & Decker space heaters?
Yeah.
They're pretty much energy efficient. But you said that they couldn't even run that without
No.
popping a breaker.
Yeah, they can't run it because if she runs that down here, which she's getting away with this air purifier right now, but if they run them upstairs as well in the microwave or something, it pops. Well, it's been doing that.
So you have to pick
Yeah.
and choose how much you have.
And
on.
and I'm pretty sure he didn't put the heaters down here because if he did, that box isn't sufficient enough for both units. So the upstairs has a heater, but not down here. And so if she had it on here, down here, they would never be able to get any lighting or anything in here. So what they did is just try to get it somewhat look like it's livable to be able to get tenants in here.
And what was your point on the space heaters? You said there's a law that they have to have some sort of heater in a building.
Oh yeah, in the state of California, you have to have a heater in a house to be able to heat each room to a minimum of 70 degrees. If it doesn't, then you're not allowed to rent to a tenant.
But you can rent without AC, correct?
Yes, yeah, without AC.
Man, I don't know, to touch on that, I don't know about you guys, but I'm real picky on my heat and air.
Yeah.
Like, I sleep with a fan and the heater sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes I have the AC and the fan.
Yeah.
I love to have a controlled temperature in the house. This would really, really mess me up.
Right. I spent a lot of time throughout the course of the last year and a half, because my friend lives upstairs, partner. And a few days ago I left and I was really bad. I didn't realize how bad I was, but I couldn't breathe and I was walking out to the street. And then all of a sudden, I just had like an asthma attack in the street, and I couldn't breathe. And so I went up there, and it was almost about midnight, and it was so freaking cold. And I was looking at the house, and I'm just like, how in the hell can this landlord allow these people to live here without a heater? there's children here, and I just like.
And we were speaking about that time, and I did
Yeah.
notice in your voice trembling a little bit how you kind of were getting emotional on the
Yeah,
subject.
dude. Yeah, I was
I
up
mean,
there.
there's kids that live here, correct?
Yeah.
How many? You said there's 2 kids in this unit, 2 kids in the other.
In the upstairs, and I was up there, and I'm thinking, like I'm gonna go sleep in a nice warm room, right? Oh, I couldn't. I didn't end up going home. I got really like tired, and I stayed out there for a little while, and I kept asking the upstairs girl to go to a hotel or something, to ask the landlord to accommodate, just get him to do something. I'm like, I'll even pay for it, and I was getting so like kind of deluded, like a little bit tired, that I was kind of overdoing it, but
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed.
Like,
Yeah.
like man, like honestly, this whole structure here, it looks semi-livable to me, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
look terrible,
Right.
like, but there's mold in there.
There's mold, yeah.
So basically, even though this is like kind of a layer between all that mold, you're seeing with the 1,000 particles that the mold is still coming through.
Right.
So is the mold like literally growing here
Yeah,
too?
yeah,
Is
so-
that where most of it is? But if
A lot of it, sometimes before they came in here and they cleaned the walls, they actually came in here a week ago. You probably wouldn't have noticed, because a lot of it will be white, and so it grows white on top of the white paint.
no way, it's
Yeah.
white.
The one that was here, and you can't see it. So I went up when I was upstairs. I went like this on the wall, and it was
White.
white, yeah. And so, the
So
guy,
everywhere is potentially growing mold. in here.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
it could be, it's white. It doesn't have to be black mold.
No.
But if it turned, like if it's on a white surface, it turns white. But if it's on wood, is it white too,
it's
or is
white
it
too.
black?
Yeah, it'll be white, and it.
So
can
is that
turn-
a different? What's the label of this mold? Is
There's-
it black mold?
There's 40 different types of mold. There's more than that, but around here there's about 40 different types of molds, and in here there was 4 different types. I actually have.
Oh, you guys, they were able to document
Yeah.
each mold.
The inspector that came originally, he's the one that did the original test about a few weeks ago, and I did it separately to see what molds were growing, and I have the actual kit still, and he did it, and he's the one that got the levels, so. Yeah, but there's 40 different types of mold around here usually, and so some of it's pink, some of it's green, black, white. There's a mixture of them.
Wow.
And so there's one that goes airborne. It's called I can't really pronounce it. I think it's aspergillosis or something like that. And so when it becomes airborne is when it's toxic to you really bad, And if it gets inside your lungs, it basically is growing in there, like it's mold. So it changes your DNA. It attaches to your blood cells, and it literally will your kidneys will fail because it's not allowing you to excrete any toxins or anything from your body. It's plugging you up, basically. You'll start to swell. You'll start to get, like the upstairs neighbor, she got water around her brain. And all the different symptoms that are caused from mold, she has. And so when she went to the doctor, they didn't want to tell her at first because they don't want to get involved, that this is the cause. But they eventually let her leave with a paper saying that she needs to not go back to the house. The landlord needs to accommodate her housing. And he still hasn't done that. Yeah.
So we're going to go more into the symptoms of the mold, especially that the tenants has been infected with. But before that, I wanted to go a little bit over, because that's an interesting part, you guys. Like, they actually are getting physically sick from it. So I want to know exactly what happened to them. But also, so just to bring this room up to date, what would have to be done?
They would have to change the windows. They would have to put proper windows in here with double pane and weeping holes also insulation. And they would have to come through here and cut all this drywall out.
Every piece?
Yeah, I would remove all of it because this whole wall here is wet. When you put a moisture meter on it, it's not just moist, it's wet. And so...
What about the 2x4s inside?
The 2x4s are going to be okay once you remove all the drywall to the areas where that it's mostly wet.
Is that when they put the fans in and they let them dry for like a certain amount of time?
Yeah, you'll let it dry for about seven days. Sometimes it's 7 days minimum, and you have to let it dry out. And then after that, you got to make sure you encapsulate the whole house with plastic. And basically, well, actually, you wouldn't even do that at this point. You would just remove everything. Let the walls dry. Let the studs dry in here, and then the moisture.
Have you done jobs like this in your career in the past?
Yeah, when we do them in the houses and we do mold abatements or from water damage, a lot of times we cut 2 feet off the ground all the way around the house, wherever the water hit, and then we remove it all and let the air, go up and dry everything out. And then, obviously we make sure that no mold can grow. We prevent it from growing again. That's the only way to remove it is by removing it completely. And if you just go in and sanitize it with the air, it's going to be back in 72 hours. And from my experience in the last 21 years, I've never seen it not. I've always seen it come back if you don't take care of the problem. So yeah, that's what would have to happen here is everything would just be cut out and let dry, and then make sure that everything gets properly waterproofed from the outside of the walls in. So like I was telling you on the outside where the stucco mold's at.
Right.
That would have to be done properly, not where it's just square into the concrete, so it doesn't allow weeping up the wall, And then inside here, all the lower 2x4s that are running parallel to the foundation, we call those green board. And they have to all be pressure treated, which it prevents termites and water damage, or dry rot. And so we make sure all those are done. If they're not, then we would replace them, And then on top of it, we have to make sure that everything's got a moisture barrier in between them, so that when it's basically it connects to the concrete, it doesn't allow water to come in underneath it, into the house. So it's all part of moisture.
It's a bunch of precautions and a bunch of steps when you build up a structure.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just slapping together some wood.
Right. It's very complex to build a house. Because you're trying when you're a contractor and you're building a house, if you don't do it properly and people get sick, you could be sued and put in jail if somebody gets sick from this, it not being done properly, or if a structure collapses on somebody, we'll go to jail for if somebody gets killed, we'll be in jail for murder, basically.
Man, and that's some serious stuff. Like a lot of my subscribers, they're business owners. They're either business owners, multiple business owners, entrepreneurs, or they're like new. They're up and coming. They're basically ambitious, they're aspiring business owners. So they're watching my channel, they're learning how to invest, they're learning what to buy, how to do it. So a lot of these guys, they're in the situation to potentially get sued if they don't play the game right. You guys don't play by the rules, you're gonna get burned. And I'm telling you, it's really serious, especially for what's going on here. This guy, he's asking for it.
Yeah, can I say something? The one thing that if you're a landlord, you're a good landlord, or you're looking for a good landlord, is when a landlord wants to if they care about the people, the tenant. If they care about the people that are renting it, the house will be in good shape. Because if they actually care about the individual inside there, there's no way that they're not going to let the house be in good shape, If they don't give a crap about them, then their house is going to look like shit, and they don't care about that person's health, It's basically, you take care of the tenant, you take care of yourself. You're protected. That's why, I was saying earlier that the landlord.
So that's like an ethical thing.
Yeah.
If you have ethics, there's no way you can let somebody live like this, basically.
Exactly. That was my point. Yeah. Sorry.
So it's ethics, guys. What's your ethical situation? Like for me, when I promise a customer on a detail package and I say I'm gonna wax the car, even though I spent 4 hours detailing the whole car and I'm feeling tired, but the car looks immaculate and the customer will probably never know that it's been waxed or not, my ethics kick in and I just always want to do the same service each and every time. I guess that's integrity also.
Right.
But definitely ethics is a big thing when you're running a business, because the customers are basically kind of at your beck and call. They're in your palm of your hands when you're providing a service to them.
When you own a company, you're obviously doing something for the people, your customers, and they're the most important thing to your job. And when you don't do that, you end up getting people that end up being sick in the ER.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
And actually for me, because I own a rental car company, which Romero is actually driving one of my rental cars, the 2025 Honda Civic. How do you like it?
Oh, it's really nice.
Really nice, right? It's a decent rental car.
Yeah, it's clean.
And I'm hoping it's going to be a good investment because it's a Honda. And you've seen I did some investments already to it. I put weather mats. I put car seats. I put steering wheel covers. I spent some money on it, guys. And for me, I have to keep my renters safe. They have to have a good tread on the tires. They have to have good brakes. They need good batteries. They need good windshield wipers. They need all the lights to be working. It's a lot of safety features. So let's move on to the next part of the
It
video.
also drives itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get a safe
Oh,
driver
I
in
was
there.
going to show you one last thing in here. If you notice, there's no vents in here anywhere. So there's no heater, there's no air conditioner, and there's no vents. So in a shower, obviously, in a bathroom, you have to have at least one window or a vent, you know, an exhaust vent. In here, there's nothing. I mean, there's windows, but you don't want to open your windows when it's freezing outside.
Oh, those little vents where you turn the switch and they spin.
Yeah, the exhaust vents. Yeah, exactly. There's none of those in here. There's, I mean, they put their own.
They have a little fan in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They always get like clogged with lint and stuff. There's nothing like that in there. That's supposed to be in here too?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
By law or like building codes?
Well, they have windows, but they don't have the proper proper air ventilation in here. So that's why everything will just sit right here and like basically become stagnant, you know. And I know we probably shouldn't be in here right now, being that you know, it is infested with mold, because you know, I can feel it already in my eyes, like where they start to get goopy and they blur. But they did recently just sanitize this area, you know, so it shouldn't be that harmful right now, but it will grow back.
Was it worse at one point?
Yeah, they had the ceiling.
You smelt it like worse, or
it
it
was
looked
bad.
worse?
Yeah, the smell was
It's
strong.
kind of lingering, but it's
when you-
manageable right now.
Yeah, right when you come in, like you would, like when we go upstairs, you'll see it just eventually. I mean, not eventually, but it just, you can't breathe.
Okay.
You'll choke. Yeah.
So let's go back to the living room. You were saying that there was a bunch of officials involved so far. Inspectors, fire departments. Let's go over there,
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit. The tenant's in here. We're not
yeah.
going to have her on camera just for security reasons, anonymity reasons. As far as your experience so far, you said that you had contacted some inspectors that...
Yes, I contacted code enforcement just to let them know about the various issues that are happening here, and they said that they need to come in and do an inspection, verify that information. So I'm just waiting for them to do their part to contact me and come on over, check it out.
Yeah.
But
Pretty
yeah,
much.
there are
Yeah.
multiple things I think that are not up to code.
Yeah, the county, when they come out, they're basically gonna look at the place, do an inspection, and then they're gonna, you know, make everybody vacate because it's not habitable. The fact that there's safety issues, the garage not being one of them, that'll fall, the electrical panel not being sufficient, the outlets inside here will shock you in the garage, you know, and it's not habitable at that point. The fact that there's no heater in here.
So if they say she were to really escalate this and get inspectors out here, officials, would they shut this place down?
Yeah, they're gonna, and we're just, right now.
And that's kind of unpredictable because if she's not quite prepared to move right away, she could spend thousands on hotel costs,
right.
maybe.
And he's supposed to accommodate, yeah. And that's why I have.
Are you worried about something like that happening?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as far as the living conditions here, and like obviously on face value, when you move in, you're not in the industry, you don't build homes, so you probably didn't know much, right? But have you experienced anything like this in past places? Like,
No.
or is this?
No, this is the
And
first
then
time.
you're being educated like on a daily, just how I am, right? Like about everything.
Correct.
Like how I have been with Romero, he's been teaching me more and
Yeah,
more
thank
about
goodness
it.
we have Romero, or else I probably would have been living without heat another couple of years. I wouldn't have understood my rights and known what is proper and not as a regular tenant. I
And
never
that's
researched it.
scary. That's scary.
You
that
just
you
trust,
you
yeah.
just trust. You just listen to your landlord, and he has a authority figure over you. You know he can
Absolutely.
set the rules and make you feel vulnerable, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I've
And
seen
even
over
with all
20.
this,
Yeah,
he still wants me to pay the rent.
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Scary.
I've seen over the last 21 years that I've been in here, in the industry. I've seen children get sick from mold, and usually it's not taken serious until something happens. You know, for some reason, nobody takes it serious until the child or somebody gets sick. You know, I've seen a little girl on basically her deathbed, and then right when she left the unit to the hospital, she immediately started getting better. And so that's how they knew that it was the environment she was living at. And so they ended up turning around and suing the apartment complex, and they won, you know, it was about $500,000, I think it was.
In the past case that you
Yeah, in the past
you know,
case, because it was, you know,
and they were the lucky ones, right?
Yeah,
Because mold
yeah.
actually kills too.
yeah, it causes cancer. Yeah, I haven't actually told them that yet because I didn't want to scare them. But it does, it'll cause cancer. It changes your DNA, you'll get cysts, and then they'll turn cancers. If you exposed to it for a long time, that's just eventually what happens. You know.
You seem like a tough person, like that you can endure some sicknesses, some body aches. But in your experience, have you been noticing different changes since you've been here?
Yeah, well, 6 months ago is when I started having health issues, and I didn't know what that was from. I stopped sleeping. I was only sleeping a couple hours a night. And I
Affecting
started,
sleep.
yeah, it's very much, and my eyelids blew up. Had healthy eyelids and just brain fog overall, and I just didn't know what was happening to me.
Real quick,
Neurological, that's scary,
yeah.
brain fog.
She exercises a lot, I guess. You know, she does it, right? And she's takes care of her body really well, like more than most. And so for her to be affected by it, it would be, she has a higher, I think, immune system than most people.
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah,
I was a
well,
fitness instructor, but I haven't
yeah.
been able to go back because I don't have the energy,
Right.
or the brain fog is too heavy. But
Yeah, so she's being affected by it just in her gut.
Has anything serious happened yet? Like where you had to go to the hospital yet?
no, not yet. But I
But
did
if you went to the hospital, they may find something
Absolutely.
irregular.
Yes, and I did do gut testing on my gut, and I had huge levels of staph bacteria in my gut, which is just
Weird.
abnormal.
Right.
And I had no idea what would have caused that until
Mold.
Now that
we
you
started putting two and two together. And one of the first reasons we realized what was happening is because both Trinity and I were experiencing similar symptoms.
At the same time.
And I started telling her,
Yeah.
I've been really off. I don't know what's going on with me. These are my symptoms. And she said, wow, I have the same things.
Yeah, and then the boys upstairs too.
Right.
You know, they started having sickness. They're still sick, you know. And then I started feeling it, and I was like, okay, like now I know, like I'm very sensitive to mold. You know, that's why I can feel it in my eyes already.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Was Romero the one who stumbled across the whole thing? Or
Well-
how did it all get
Well,
to-
when they started getting sick, I noticed I'm like, it's got to be something in the house. And then,
Yeah.
I'm like, because they're all going in and out, getting fatigue, and we were going to hotels, you know, to get Trinity out, and she would stay there for a few days, and she would get better, and then she would come back. And in my head, I'm just like, I don't know if I can tell. I don't know how to tell him. Like, what do I do? You know, it's like, and my eyes would start watering, and I don't cry, you know. But after what I've seen throughout the years, and then one day, I just recently, you know, met her, and they were talking. We were talking about the mold, and I couldn't hold it in, you know. And it's just like looking at Trinity after going to the hospital and everything she's went through at the hospital, $100,000 bill on top of the
Tell us a
cyst.
little bit about that.
Yeah.
$100,000 bill. She was actually hospitalized.
Well, she went to the hospital, and they didn't want to let her stay there. They said that she needed to go to a different hospital. Her insurance didn't cover it. And I'm like, no, put the doctor on the phone. I talked to him on the phone, and I started like being real firm and started yelling at him like, you know what? You guys are telling her it's not mold. I'm like, you need to reevaluate her. I started yelling at him. You cannot turn her down. You have to admit her, even if her insurance doesn't cover it. So they ended up admitting her, and they looked into it. She ended up having a cyst on her lungs, a cyst on her brain. I can't remember. It's a pituitary gland, I think. Yeah, a cyst there. She has water growing around her brain. Her legs swelled up real bad. And then when she left here, it started getting better. And then what really helped actually was this stuff that Kim had. It's called turmeric and garlic and all these. She started taking that, and immediately she started, like, it just felt, the next day she was just like better, right?
Right.
So then, but she's been in the house still because the landlord told her it was okay to move back in there.
So the $100,000
sorry.
is over a period of
5 days.
different. Oh, it only happened in one visit.
One visit.
That accumulated just by getting checked in and having to stay there for 5 days.
Just her, yeah.
But at least during those 5 days, she discovered every single thing that was happening with her.
Yeah, and then that's when the doctors left her.
Because that way she can address each thing.
The doctors actually discharged her, not saying it was the mold.
Do you think that she has it worse upstairs?
Yeah. It's worse up there. I'm sure because where the mold, I believe, is starting is in that upstairs in the corner of the house, because there's water.
The back corner?
Yeah, the back corner. Water will come in through the roof. Then these vents up here, all the plumbing vents have holes, so water's coming there. That's why there's a lot of mold in the bathrooms. And then on this side of the house, there's in the entryway. It's all due to the roof leak and the flashing. The house is not waterproof, and so it's just absorbing all the water, and mold is growing inside of it. What we call it is, sick building syndrome. You know, anytime that you leave your house and if you feel you're getting better, and then when you get back to your house you get sick again, it's because of that. It's sick building, and a lot of times they don't know what it's caused from. But in this case, it's mold. You know, there's other situations that it could cause sick building syndrome. But sure, we know it's mold.
What are some other cases?
Like so, mainly they happen in commercial buildings.
Is that like lead or asbestos or something like that?
Yeah, asbestos, lead. There's a lot of times you'll have it in the popcorn ceiling.
What's asbestos? Is that a material?
It's like asbestos is it's a material that they used to use in like water heaters, like tile. They even use it in your brake pads. You know, it's I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's a material that was used. I think it was for, I don't know if it was strength or I have to double check that for you. But anyways, if you're exposed to it over a long period of time, it will cause cancer. The lead in the paint, and so a lot of the times the acoustic ceilings had asbestos in it. Your water heaters prior to, I think it was 77. Any house that really from 77 you want to check, prior to 77 you want to check it, everything for asbestos, do an asbestos test. And if it has it, you have to do the same exact thing that they're going to have to do here. Encapsulate the whole house with plastic. It's basically you have to wear a hazmat suit. You know, when you come in. Right now we're okay because they already treated the air pollution part of it, but it's going to get worse again. They didn't take care of the construction part of it, the problem, so it's just going to come right back. You know, so before you even enter the house, you have to go into different capsules and change while you're in there, and then put on respirators, and then walk in, and then you start doing the abatement, basically, mold abatement. And they didn't do any of that here. All they did was the air quality. And so
basically, there's the sick house syndrome going on here.
Mm-hmm.
If they just leave, they'll get better.
They'll get better. Yeah, as they leave. There might be some stuff where they have to get antibiotics or like for the stomach, where you have to
Kills the bacteria.
yeah, kills the bacteria because otherwise it's going to be growing in you. It's in a warm
kind of like a detox thing.
Yeah, exactly, a detox. Yeah, and I think for the most part, natural. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I've seen for the most part, people leave the house and they get better. But I believe what I know is that the actual like natural herbs will help you get better. You know.
I want to ask you something. As far as the electrical here, have you noticed anything? Like, do you have to pick and choose? Like, you can't have the microwave on at the same time, and then this and that,
Yes.
and things pop. So,
Yeah.
are you constantly switching the breaker to fix it and having to reset clocks and stuff?
Yes, I'm not great at resetting the breaker either. I usually have to get one of the kids upstairs to
Is it
help
hard?
me.
Is it
it's
a tough?
really hard
It's
to
like
pull
a
it down.
yeah. It's like very.
And reset it.
It's stiff.
Yeah,
the
but I
switch.
can use one space heater. Two will make my make the breaker go out, so I can't use two space heaters. But yeah, and then two. So they'll do something upstairs, and this whole side of the house will go out.
And the really bad part about that is, like I was telling you about the panel out there, when water comes down, and that breaker that they can't even pop. It should be as simple as just flipping it up and back down, right?
Yeah. I struggle.
Yeah,
I have to call my ex-husband to come do it for me.
Yeah, and so it being that bad, when the water comes down and it hits that panel, if they're also making contact with the water down here, it could shock the shit out of them. Bad.
And you do have a space heater though, because it gets really cold and moist here because you're by the beach.
I have
But
one,
you
but
have
yeah,
one?
we just bundle up a lot too.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're just used to getting warm that way.
Yeah, I just
And you know what? When mold,
sweaters and robes.
you know, when algae, like different types of stuff grows, the best is in around 80-degree temperature, in confined areas. You know, like a fish tank, for example. Algae at 80 degrees will grow its best. You know, so yeah, if you kept it colder in here, maybe it might work. But the fact that it is inside, mold will still grow because it's contained. You know, it's just it'll grow in different temperatures.
So since there's a lot of moisture in the walls and they're not technically drying, do you think it's extra colder in here? Maybe like.
It is freezing at night. It is really cold.
Like
during the winter.
Just like a crazy frost, like you just can't shake it.
Yeah, I just want to stay in the bed under the covers.
Because there's no heater in here, right?
Yeah, it's just the whole house is
Can
so
you
cold.
almost like see your own breath and?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I
Sometimes, on
bet.
occasion,
Dude, it was so cold out here the other night, and I was like, how are they in there? Like,
You have kids?
I have
who live
two.
here?
Yes,
Okay, and what's their ages?
10 and 14.
So single mother,
Yes.
and you guys want to live in the neighborhood. This is where you've been raising your kids.
Yes,
You go
my
to school
kids
here?
go to the schools in Redondo, so I'd love to stay in Redondo. My son's in the special education program here, so
And how's the housing here as far as like just to pick up and move in the same neighborhood, basically?
it's just expensive. It's
No matter where you go, it's always
Redondo is very expensive.
What's your rent here?
Right now it's $24.50, but I pay $27.50 with the electric and the gas because we can't have our own separate electric and gas bills, right? Because it's one panel. So I pay an extra $300 for utilities.
What's the square foot here?
I think it's 960 square feet.
960. Yeah, I can see that. You have 2 bedrooms here, right?
I do. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath.
300.
No
Then
heat.
And do you know the market value for a 960 square foot 2-bedroom home in this area?
I mean, right now, probably there are similar looking places online going for 3,000, 32, even higher.
So be starting around 27 to 22. Or no, that's without utilities.
Correct, yeah, so that's without utilities,
So
right?
you'd be
yeah.
at most likely
definitely
around
gonna be paying
3
more.
plus a couple more in utilities.
Yes.
But
definitely.
you would get
So-
a heater.
Technically,
Yeah.
you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You have a good deal here, and then also he's playing the authority role. Like, hey, I'm the landlord. Do this, do that. You know, pay your rent. You know, this is, and you're just going along paying your. That's like the rest of us.
Yeah.
We just want to live. We just
Yeah,
want to play
I was
somewhere.
content with the price when I thought the house was habitable,
Yeah.
yeah, and safe. Now
And-
that I find it's not, you know, no.
And now, where's your standpoint on this? Like, because obviously, do you know that they may potentially file papers to sue him?
Yes.
And are you just gonna kind of write it out and be like biased and just see?
No,
She's with us on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't agree with this at all, and I don't want this to keep happening to other people. I'm not the first tenant that this has happened to. There's a history
Mhm.
of people in this house that
And
are
at that-
experiencing similar things.
Yes, and then you've seen, now that you look at the whole bigger picture, you've seen the error in the landlord's ways, and I'm sure you feel taking it personal now.
Absolutely.
And now it's time to get repaid if
Yes,
you can.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think I should have been paying for the past 2 years that I've lived here
Yeah.
without heat.
Yeah.
There's
With
been,
mold?
They've had knowledge of the mold
Right.
prior to me moving in.
And guys, leave in the comments what your opinion about the situation is. You know, what do you guys think? Let us know.
I just like I can't help but like this is all I think about right now. And then when I go to my house in Newport Beach, and I talk to my roommate and I'm just telling her about what's going on over here, and it just like I can't help but only talk about this. I'm like I cannot get them out of my head. I can't. And she goes, because knowing what I'm doing, as a contractor, if I walk away from something like this, and knowing these families are being injured, how could I could be basically the same way he is, And so that's why, I've been here trying to help them for the most part. I've been up like the last probably 2 days, 3 days, updating myself, like just seeing them where they can get help, I even told him, I'm like, dude, I ended up got to the point where I'm like, I'm just gonna pay for everything. I sent him a text message, I'll just pay for everything. I have a little bit of money coming and I'll take care of it, just to make sure that they're in a good house. I even offered to pay for their hotel somewhere, anything, and he won't budge on anything. He wants to blame the upstairs tenant.
And I feel like in a way you guys kind of feel helpless, but you have a little bit more, you've been more empowered through the years to do something about it, but
Yeah.
still, even with your hands are tied a little bit.
Right.
And that's kind of the purpose of this video too, guys, is to basically expose slumlords, expose these hazardous living situations, make people more self-aware, make people understand their rights as
Yeah.
well. And like I was telling you guys earlier, the law mandates that the landlord has to bring the house out of hazardous conditions, and if not, they encourage the tenant to sue. And it's a very tricky situation. Like the tenant here, she's caught in limbo, and I do hope you get some money out of it so you can move and be made whole again. You can get some money for basically compensation
Pain and
for the pain and
suffering.
suffering. And then help you transition to another place and maybe have a little bit of money in savings too and make it worth it. Because who knows, maybe the time you spent in here could shave some time off your life because it's so dangerous.
It will.
Here. So can you tell us a little bit about the lawsuit that may be happening?
Yeah.
Or do you want to just hold off on that until?
No, I can. I mean, we could, I guess, touch on it a little bit. We can expound on it more later if we.
We could do a follow-up video.
Yeah. So we have an appointment set Wednesday with a lawyer who actually I told the situation to last Friday, and explained it to her, and she ended up in tears herself. You could hear her over the phone, and she's like, I haven't heard of this type of landlord around here in a long time, she said. And she said that she was touched by it, and she couldn't believe that this was happening here in Redondo Beach, at all places. She's like, it's hard to believe. But she believed me, you know, because I'm not calling her lying. I told her I was a general contractor, and she's just like, so she's willing to meet with us. We're gonna meet with her on Wednesday, and she's told me that if all my evidence that I bring to her are facts, then she's going to push forward with this just based on contingency. And also the inspector I called for the mold, he said himself that he's going to do whatever he can to help us with getting this landlord out of either his position or making him see what he's doing is wrong and somehow making him pay for what he's doing here. And these are big companies that are going to help me with this. You know, and just they reduce the cost of all their work. I mean, all their labor already for me. So the cost of like whatever the mold kit tests are to test the individuals here. He also his own job. They cut it in half basically, and they're bringing all the different documents that we need to help us and assist us with shutting this guy down basically, or making him do what's right. You know, and it's going to cost him a lot of money. So and he basically he's doing this. He did it to himself. You know, so.
Right. And I know lawyers that they do cases on contingency, they do cases pro bono, you know, and they have a soft spot, you know, and they do discounts too. I'm glad you guys lawyered up. Now you're taking the fight to him because he wanted to basically hustle you guys and continue it, and did a lot of shady things so far.
He picks and chooses what he wants to do here. You know, over the last 6 months that I've been telling her not to pay her rent, she starts it, and then she ends up paying him because he scares her. That she's scared of these people, and so she ends up just paying him, and then it puts us in a situation where it's like, okay, how do we fight this guy if she keeps doing that? Well, when she came forward finally is when she got the courage to stand with her and to not pay him at all because she didn't either. So when they got together as a team, that's when they became stronger, you know.
And that may be another option for you guys too, is once the lawsuit has been filed and there's like court dates in place, at that point you can possibly just stop paying rent and stay here, save a few months rent, and then maybe move after everything's been documented correctly. Yeah. And then you have some money for your move.
Well, I can tell you it's going to be probably somewhere around maybe $500,000 that he's going to owe them.
Does that sound like a good scenario, like what I just said?
Oh, yeah.
Could that be a potentially? Because
right when the paperwork's filed, it basically freezes everything, you know, and nothing.
And you said you have an appointment with the lawyer?
Wednesday.
So that means, is she going to come here and interview them and start? You got to go to her? Oh, you got to go. The consultation, you go to their office first. Then they sign you on a, what do they call that thing where you?
Contract.
Yeah,
it's a contract, but
contingency
you put
plan?
Deposit down.
Oh, retainer?
A retainer.
Yeah, I don't even know if she's going to charge us that.
Right.
She said,
but I mean, you still have to sign a paper retaining her services.
Exactly.
And then she becomes officially by law your lawyer.
Right.
And then from there, she can advise you what's the next step.
I don't know if they'll come to the house just yet because of the hazardous material around here, like just the air quality and everything. I don't know. They might come and look at it, but not come in, you know.
You said she's a mold lawyer, right? What did you call her?
I just called her a mold lawyer. She's actually like a tenant lawyer. She fights for the tenants, you know.
And she basically is familiar with this situation, so she probably doesn't really want to come in here to get infected or anything.
And to hear a lawyer or myself as a contractor, you have there's emotional, you know, after seeing it so many times, this being the worst I've ever seen. Is, you know, why it's emotional for me thinking about all the people that have went through this and I've seen, and then to this family and they're still here. It's just like living it with them right now because I got sick too, you know, it's just it's hard to see. It's like I have a hard time leaving this place with leaving them here. Like I don't like it does not feel good, and I don't know how this landlord can do it. It's just it's crazy. Like it makes me just like want to like stop the guy myself, and I can't.
Maybe get physical with him or something.
Yeah, like seriously, this guy needs to like seriously pay.
We know that won't work.
No, we gotta take it the legal way.
All right, guys, so I know this is a long video, but if you have still been watching it, do me a favor, give the video a like. It really helps us out in the algorithm, and it's the best way to support the channel. But we're gonna move on to the next segment because there's still more dangers to look at inside this house, and one of them's in the garage. So we have access to go into the garage. Let's go in there real quick.
Up here.
Oh yeah, well it's because yeah, and that's all good.
We don't have any laundry either.
Yeah, there's no exactly. He doesn't. That's another thing we'll talk about too.
Is this a shared space or?
Yeah, it's common.
Okay.
Laundry space is shared.
Just be careful that they don't have a laundry.
Our machine's not
Oh,
working.
Yeah.
laundry's upstairs here.
Yeah, and downstairs to this unit.
Okay, and then the other tenant is right here.
Yeah, she's
And this
up
door.
top. Yeah, up top. So
Okay.
So you're gonna have to step over this, all right? They can't use the garage door first of all, so they're not supposed to, and yeah, so it's gonna be hard to see. I'm gonna open it. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. When he came out here, this is what he put up there. This board right
That
here.
board?
Yeah, to try and secure it better, but that's obviously not strong enough. You know, there's no way. And if you look up here, this is all the water damage. Yeah, that's taking place up here, all the water damage, and then it falls back into the
You can see it's still drying, right?
right. Yeah, it's still wet. Yeah, exactly, all the way down. And then you can, if you notice, the beams are the rafters here.
How
They're-
it's bowing.
Exactly. Yeah, they're bowing, and then
How would you fix that bowing?
what you would do is take the whole. I would either secure the whole beam up here with a metal plate and bolts going through it. After you would have to jack it up first with jacks, put a metal plate on both sides of it, and then put big bolts through it all the way down, and then you could remove the jack, you know, and that would lift it up from being bowed, you know, and it would last a long time because it's metal, you know, obviously.
So you would jack it and then put to brace it would be a brand new metal beam,
Metal.
and you would take out this beam
Yeah, exactly. That's what we would
Okay.
do. Yeah, put it
because this beam is the problem area, correct?
Mhm. Either we would replace this beam with a metal I-beams that are really for commercial, but we use them sometimes in houses. But we would either run 2 metal plates on both sides of the beam or replace the beam completely so that it, you know, makes everything level again.
And you said there was something in here about the garage.
Yeah, I'm gonna open it up, but also I wanted to show you right here. This is where the panel's at, the electrical panel.
Okay.
And you can see that behind it, it's only covered up by the 1/8" plywood there. Sorry. And the insulation.
Okay.
So, and the water comes down from up here. This is where the balcony connects to the house. You can stand over here, sorry. You can see how much water damage is up there. So when that water comes in, it runs back into the house, and it falls down above the electrical panel. And this is where, down here is where it puddles.
So there's water coming inside here.
You could see down here, you could tell that was water that came in, and it puddles over here right next to the electrical panel. And with the water coming in from up there, if it makes contact with that electrical panel, and you're standing in this water, you're gonna get fried.
And whose stuff is all this? Are
So-
these the tenants
Yeah.
or that's not? Is it the landlord's?
No, it's the tenant. So what happened here is this garage was pretty clean. They brought their stuff in here. Let me get over here.
Yeah.
So, one other thing real quick is that all these electrical panels right here, since they moved in, all these outlets and the switches, if you touch them, they shock you. So that's another thing. When the water comes back here,
And this is half upstairs, half downstairs, right?
Well,
Or they split it in half.
yeah, supposed to be. Yeah, but being right now, it's kind of all over the place because once they put their stuff in here, they're not supposed to use. They can't use the garage because it'll fall on them, right? So they've been just needing stuff in here and going through whatever they need, you know, and going back into the house.
So there's like you can't open this
No.
garage so you can like properly organize, access it with space and move things
Right.
in and out.
There's no fire escape. If the house gets electrical fire happens, they can't escape. It's supposed to be used as a fire escape as well, so it's not up to code for that reason as well, you know. So,
Yeah.
And it's fallen. This garage door has fallen on the boys twice now, and it's cut one of them. You can see the glass. It cut him when it fell. And I let the landlord know, and he doesn't want to do anything about it. He still hasn't. And so I'm gonna lift it up right now myself.
Okay.
You know, just so I can show you what I'm talking about as far as the posts. So they brought a couple extra things here from their storage, like this washing machine unit, to be able to use because theirs hasn't worked for over like close to a year now, and he won't replace it. So they brought theirs, and he won't allow them to put it in there. It's so weird. Why wouldn't he allow them?
So there's a wash here area that isn't able to be used.
Right, they can't use it. They can't access any of their stuff. This garage door should not be open, you know. But I'm gonna do it right now. Yeah, just be careful in case it does fall. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're good right now. It's on the track. You can see the weather stripping right here is coming back. So this is what I was talking about. The tracks right here. If you look at it down here, you see how that moves really easy? You see that?
Wow.
That's the load bearing post right here.
Can you do that one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, this entire post is compromised.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so and you can't secure these bolts to the tracks onto the post because it's dry rot because of the water that's coming down. And it's been like this before they moved in here, and he allowed them to still, you know, move in here without having a fire escape or a proper garage, you know.
And garages are really expensive, right? Like there's
Yeah.
guys who they just specialize in, basically their whole profession is garage doors.
Mm-hmm.
They reinforce posts, they
Right.
install framing, railing, and then they put brand new doors on and stuff.
Right.
And like for a job like this, how much would it be to replace this garage door?
It's probably about, for just the garage door, about probably $4 or $5 grand, you know.
That's not too bad.
no, it's
but
not.
It needs to be done though.
Right, but considering everything that's going on that caused the garage door to be like this, the garage door wouldn't be like this if everything else around it was secure and sound. But being that the water's coming through, all the rafters will have to be pushed up with this beam. As you can see, it's cracking.
Oh, so
in
the
here.
garage guys couldn't even do their job
No.
until that was repaired.
They
That's
won't-
so basically the landlord, he's kind of like roadblocked at
Yeah.
everything he needs to do here without paying everything.
Exactly. Yeah, he's blocking him. Like, yeah, exactly.
He's blocking himself,
Right,
really.
yeah.
He's like, dude.
The garage guy won't come and do the garage because they can't. They have to do the structure first. The electrical guy that came here said he won't do it because the insurance doesn't cover it. The insurance won't cover it because it's outdated. So this guy has to come out of his pocket and pay for it.
He would be smart to just sell this place.
Yeah, that's what I think too, or give it to them.
You said that he inherited it, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
He may have inherited all these problems too.
Yeah. Well, he might have, but he's being. You know, it's one thing to inherit something like this and to take care of it and you know pick. Like if it's yours and you buy it and you know it's for some reason you appreciate things more and you're renting it to a tenant, you take care of it better. When you do inherit something, a lot of times you don't care as much, you know. And I think that's how these slumlords are developed. You know, they get something that's just given to them. They don't really care about it, and if they don't care about the house, they don't care about the people. You know, this is what brings them their own livelihood. You know, the money that they're gonna make from it. It's a business, and they're just not. They just don't care. Simple as that. Like.
Yep, that makes sense.
They get about 10 grand a month, and they haven't put $1 into this place since I've been coming here the last year and a half. Not $1 out of the rent. I've put money into it a little bit. She's put a lot of money into it. $20,000 just when she first moved in, and it's not even her responsibility to change the carpet, the flooring. I mean, to hardwood floors. She did the cabinets. Paid the handyman to do all this work around here that he was supposed to pay for, and getting her to do all these different things that weren't her.
Did he say he would reimburse her?
No. He just said that it was her responsibility. And I have all the documents where he tells her that she has to pay for it, and he puts prices.
He didn't even discount the rent or
No.
anything, or
And
so he's getting about $2,500 to $2,700 per month rent from them, plus additional money for paying, fixing things.
He gets 4,500 from the top unit, and then 2,750 for the bottom unit.
Why does the top get 4,500?
That's a good question.
Jeez.
I think, and then so she
There's
gets
more bedrooms up there, maybe.
it's about the same.
What-
Well, yeah, maybe one more bedroom. Yeah, it's a little
It's
bit
a
bigger.
3-bedroom up there.
Well, no, it's technically a 2-bedroom, but they converted a living room, a dining room into a bedroom. So it's, I don't know if it qualifies right now as a bedroom, unless it has a closet, or I don't know. I don't think it's actually a bedroom, but they made it one. They put a door and they, divided it from the rest of the house. So he gets 4,500 from the top and 2,750 from the bottom. They both didn't pay the rent this month on purpose because of what he's doing. He gives her a 3-day pay or quit notice and not the downstairs girl, right? So we look online, it says that the current tenant is the downstairs girl, but she's the one that actually had the house first. She's on the lease right now, but it says she doesn't live here anymore. It says she's a previous tenant. So this guy, I think, is discriminating. So why would she get a 3-day pay or quit and not the downstairs? And she's month to month, and her lease is up at the same time, so it doesn't make sense why he wants her out of here. On the back end of things, he sends her text messages, emails that are...
And she's paying the most, and she's done
right.
the most.
So if you take her rent over the $4,500 a month that she pays every month, which she shouldn't even be paying that because her original lease was $3,600. He raised the rent to $4,500, which in 12 months, you cannot raise a tenant's lease more than 5% every 12 months.
By law.
By law. And $1,000, he's already overdone it. So she pays that, and then on top of it, she pays all this different stuff to fix the house.
Which totaled to around what?
She's probably got somewhere around 50 grand.
Into fixing things?
Yeah, maybe, actually I take that back. It's probably about 75 because she has to also pay the labor.
All right, guys, so we made it upstairs to the upstairs unit. We're gonna document some of the stuff that's going on up here, just so we have it on camera. We are able to squeeze this segment in. We're gonna make it quick. So what's going on with that tape there?
So right here, she, I guess, cut the drywall open to see what was back there, because when you put a moisture meter on it, it registers as wet. This whole wall, it feels like it's wet. Oh yeah, it's wet inside here. Too bad, and there's no insulation. There should be insulation on the exterior of the wall.
Okay.
That's strange.
No installation at all?
None. That's crazy. Yeah, there's none.
None at all?
Mm-mm.
And that's not normal?
No, that would cause the house to either stay really cold or really warm. And so when you run your heater or air conditioner, you're basically defeating the purpose. I mean, older houses, yeah, they didn't.
What's this right here? Is that water damage?
Oh yeah, that's water damage up there, from when water came in. It looks like. That's the corner of the house up here where the roof.
It kind of looks like a burn mark, but that's what water does?
That's what water does when there's wood. It'll turn that color, or if it's drywall and it comes through the primer, it turns that color.
And then you said there was some mold growing on the floorboards?
Yeah, so this place was...
This is mold down here?
Yeah, it was treated about 2 weeks ago. And...
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, you see that? All down here. This whole wall is the one I was saying is wet.
That's mold right there too.
Right. Yeah, there's mold there. This is one of the bad walls. This up here in this corner.
We're here on the back of the house where we were in the backyard. So
it looks like there's mold up here too. When she moved, there was a dresser over here. She moved it all out. It was all covered in mold. And then you can see that they didn't replace any of the drywall. They didn't take any of it out to do the mold abatement. They only sanitized the air. So within 72 hours, like I said, it'll just come regrow. And that's what's happening because they didn't do the construction part of it. They didn't remove it at all.
And here's the windows that probably real super moldy too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you see it already growing. All the little black spots.
I have a respirator in the van. We use one because we do mold removal too. Mm-hmm. And we use it's like an actual respirator.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah?
Yeah, so.
I was so concerned about her.
Hey buddy. No.
I was concerned about her, shit. Hold on. Yeah, we gotta go out.
Feeling sick in here?
I can't breathe.
Let's get out of here. Yeah, you guys,
Let me see. Like,
you all right, bro?
like when you get like almost like a hair in your throat, and it closes, it starts to feel like it's closing. My whole throat is feeling like dry right now, like completely like dry, and I could feel like it was, I don't know if it was closing or sticking, like, you know what I mean, like sticking together. Like when I swallowed it, instead of it feeling like it was opening up, it felt like it was closing together.
That's gross, man. That's
fucking
is the water helping?
Yeah, but it still feels dry. I cannot believe it. We need to get respirators.
Yeah, I don't think I want to go back in there.
I'm highly sensitive to like mold, and but I was so concerned about her health and how she looked that I didn't even think to put it on. I shouldn't have made a mistake. Shit.
That's right, guys. We went in there because he wanted to do a welfare check on the upstairs tenant. He knows her better than I do, but he's saying that she's not looking too good right now, and he's advising that she gets checked out by someone. I mean, it's a whole fiasco. The landlord is actually on his way over with one of his mold companies, someone he acquired, not that they acquired, but he's coming over with a supposed mold company, and they're going to do mold tests to verify if it's safe to live here or not. He's over here advising her to go to the hospital or go get out of the house. Again, a lot to do and a lot that's going on here. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. I know there's a lot going on in this story, but I hope you're invested so far. We're going to bring more updates on what's going on here. If you guys are into the story, show some support in the comments, because this is a new story for me, and it's also something new for him, getting on YouTube, explaining some of this stuff. And he's an interesting guy. He's actually spent many years in real estate. You know a lot about it, and you've made a lot of money, I would say, right?
Yeah,
you've made. Did you retire at 44?
Yeah,
You're basically, you just retired.
Yeah.
So
the last 2 years ago, the last I made was 1.2 million.
Guys, so this guy, that's very interesting. Like, you retired at 44. Like, I think we want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
We should do another video about how you made your fortune and in real estate, because there's a lot of guys that want to do it too. They want to make some big money like that. I'm interested. It's a scary thing, investing in real estate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, and also, you guys, you can see how scary it can get, but it's scary to put all your money in something and then try and sell it. I appreciate you inviting me again, man. It was a great time today, learning about everything, and I wish you guys the best. And until the next video, guys, take care.